These are super tacky design mistakes that I think we've all made at one point or another. Some of them I'm still making right now, but I think if you avoid these, your space is going to look so much better. Now, before we get into today's video, if you don't know who I am, hello, my name is Kiva, and I'm your interior design fairy godmother because I help you achieve the luxe look for less. And I teach you all the little design tidbits that are going to totally elevate your space. But let's talk about these tacky design mistakes. Now, as I've already said, these are design mistakes I make all the time. Some of these things I'm truly too lazy to fix. So if you find yourself feeling bad throughout this video, just know you are not alone. Design mistake number one is that you are failing to finish the sides of your canvases. So I love wall art. I talk about wall art like it's my job because it is, but I love wall art. But I think something people do all the time is if they DIY a piece of art or they buy a piece of art, they don't always finish the sides of the canvas. So maybe the artist just didn't want to continue, or maybe you're too lazy and you didn't feel like painting the sides. And I totally understand. I get that, but it looks unfinished. So it makes your space look unfinished. So you have one of two options. One, you can grab some paint and you can finish the side of that canvas, or if you've commissioned a piece of artwork, you can ask the artist to finish the side of the canvas, or you can frame that piece of artwork. Frames obviously make art look so much more elevated. You can do this using frames from IKEA, from Target, from Walmart, somewhere really affordable. You can go to your local frame shop. A hack that I like to do is I will go to my local sports framing shop because they have the best frames and stuff like that, but the frames aren't quite as expensive as a Michaels. So that's a little hack that I do, and I'm able to get my artwork looking finished. Now, if you're into the more modern organic, the organic styles, the wabi-sabi, the japandi, it makes a little bit more sense to have more of that organic raw look, but for every other interior design style, it just looks super unfinished and doesn't look quite as elevated. Something else that can look sort of tacky because it's just so repetitive is all open leg furniture. So the biggest mistake I've ever made is not being more clear about this. So open legs can be really, really transformative for a space because they draw your eyes upwards, they allow light to pass through, and they can really help a small space feel larger. And that's the reason why I ever brought it up. But if you do all open legs, the space can feel really, really repetitive. And a lot of furniture comes with open legs that just kind of look cheap. So you want to mix and match. No matter what you're designing, no matter what your design style is, you want there to be variation. So you don't want everything tall or everything short or everything black or everything orange. You want there to be some nuance. So if you want to have some of your furniture on legs to make the space feel more open, again, mix and match. And you want to make sure that the legs kind of pair with one another. So if your style is very dark and modern organic, right? You don't want honey oak legs when everything else is a deep brown chestnut or something like that. You want to think about those little minute details because they really do make a huge impact. Definitely have open and closed legs. It doesn't matter what your design style is. You can even have some pieces of furniture floating if that's what you like, but definitely have some variance there. All open can just start to feel very IKEA because IKEA has tons of open leg furniture, so it can just feel very young, and we don't often want our designs to look super, super juvenile. Now this one I think is going to hurt a few people because I know you're probably guilty of this. You are putting up beautiful drapes, beautiful curtains. Love it. I love it. You're following all of the curtain rules. You're hanging them high and wide, but you're not putting in that middle support piece. Why do we need the middle support piece? Well, who wants the curtain rod to bow? It looks like this. It's supposed to look like this and it looks like this. It's supposed to look like this and it looks like, I can't even do it. It looks like this. That's not what we want. We don't want our curtain rods to bow. It looks so cheap, it looks tacky, it doesn't look sophisticated, and it's mostly just a hazard. If it's bowing like that, it's going to collapse and it's going to hurt you. Can you imagine you're sitting there watching your scary movie or whatever, and something falls on your head? Your soul is going to leave your body. It's gonna come back, but it's going to leave, right? It's just so unnecessary, it's so dangerous, and it doesn't look as great. So you wanna use drywall anchors and you wanna use that middle support piece. I'm not saying you need to go out and buy really expensive curtain hardware. I'm a huge fan of IKEA, I'm a huge fan of Amazon curtain hardware. You can get curtain hardware for $10, right? It can be dirt cheap, but add that additional bracket. I know it's additional measuring, additional hammering, additional screwing, but it's going to be worth it for your safety and the look of your home. No one's likes bowed curtains, and this happens a lot if you're dealing with a velvet or chenille or heavier fabric. So please, just go the extra step. It's gonna make a huge difference. I promise you, you will not regret it. Every single time I see someone make a curtain video, that is the #2 culprit. and we don't want to do that. Now, this is one that I don't quite understand. Something I see people do all the time is they will buy a home with a gorgeous, magnificent fireplace, and then they cover it with a piece of furniture, whether it be some ottomans or an accent chair or their sofa or some leaning art. And it's just kind of like, what did you buy it for? Would you buy the fireplace for if we cannot see it? I'm not saying you need to burn it and you need to turn it into like a scene from Harry Potter. I'm not saying all of that, but you shouldn't block any of like the gorgeous architecture of your home. You should let those elements shine. Just have fun with it. It's part of your home. I think covering it up looks worse than just, you know, letting it have that natural charm. You can decorate around a fireplace. I think people get stuck because they're like, okay, I'm not gonna mount my TV over the fireplace because every interior design person tells me not to do that. And I love that. I love that you're not doing that because no one wants you to strain your neck. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't put some decor up there. When it comes to that TV placement, it's more about, hey, you're watching 90 minutes of TV or something like that. So that's constant straining of your neck. If it's a piece of art or a mirror, you're just like glancing at it for a few seconds. It's not going to hurt your neck long term. So your fireplace, you don't have to, you know, ignore it altogether just because you can't put your TV above there. Layer some artwork, add a mirror, add some candles. Put decor on the fireplace mantle and form a right triangle with it, with the taller things on the outside and it slopes down into the inside. Decorate it like that, follow the rule of 3, add some artwork or something like that, and it will look great. Draw attention to the fireplace, don't detract from it, don't try to hide it, incorporate it into your style. And sometimes people are like, well, fireplaces feel really, really traditional or this or that. Not inherently, they're really just like a source of warmth, right? So we want that. So stop trying to cover them up. It is not great. And when you put your sofa in front of it, you can almost always see the mantle behind it. So it's very, very, very distracting and it makes the room feel a lot more cramped. This is a really subtle thing that I see people do. Now, if that's the only place you can put your sofa, obviously I'm not talking to you. Do what is functional for your space. But I also feel like don't die on the hill of like, oh, my TV definitely can't be over my fireplace if like the only other option is to totally cover up the fireplace. You can do it, right? Like the design rules aren't like cut and dry. You have to make things work for your home. There's actually this device where you can put like, you can mount a TV above a fireplace and you can pull the TV down so you can watch it at eye level, but it's mounted up above. You can still do something like that and have your furniture oriented that way. I think people get so stuck on that one interior design rule that it kind of ruins the entire space, but you do not need to do that. Let that architecture of that home you worked really, really hard to buy show. Another thing that looks tacky, but is just like such a pain to fix, is scuffed paint. Scuffed paint looks awful, but it happens all the time. I scuff the paint in my house at least once a week, carrying packages in. Maybe you have strollers. Maybe you have kids that are just like playing tag in the house. Maybe they're having a Nerf war. Like totally understand, it happens. How are we gonna fix those scuffs? Well, we're gonna have a touch-up paint pen at the ready. We also are just going to use good old-fashioned soap and water. Soap and water can really fix most of these things. If not, you can use a magic eraser. A magic eraser will clean up those scuffs, but you can also use a touch-up paint pen to just fix that scuffed area so that you're not having to do a repaint of all of the walls. I think scuff marks, they inherently look dirty just because they're dark. That doesn't mean you're a dirty person. That doesn't mean you should stop living in your home. You should just live freely. But a huge way you're going to avoid those scuff marks is also just to use like darker shades of paint. We don't have to paint our homes all white, everything. We can have darker colors. I know that something I wish I'd done was painted my entryway a darker color because I'm always carrying things in and out and I scuff it like it's my job. So if I'd gone a little bit darker, there wouldn't be as much maintenance there, and I think it would just altogether look so much better. So that's something that I wish that I hadn't done because it can often look really, really tacky in my own home. Now, in all my years of decorating, this is something that I still really struggle with, how to decorate a windowsill, because I think there's a really fine line between leaving it completely empty and allowing it to just function as a window and it being really, really cluttered. So a lot of times people would decorate their windowsills with plants and things like that. I think that's wonderful. I think you should keep doing that. I'm not trying to tell you to put your plant over here in the deep dark corner where it doesn't get any lighting and it dies. That's just sad, and that's an impractical piece of design advice. And if anyone's telling you that, you should unfollow them and block them, okay? But I do think that there should be some empty space, some negative space on your windowsill. Sure, you can have plants there, but an opening will allow the space to kind of breathe and you be able to appreciate every little part. I think when you're styling plants or you're styling a windowsill, you're styling anything, you should still use that rule of 3, that rule that we talk about all of the time. If you want to use your windowsill for books, that is fine as well. But make sure there is some open space where you can appreciate that window, that you're not blocking that natural light. And maybe if you're doing something like that, maybe omit the curtains, go with a more simple window covering. You just want it to be balanced so that it doesn't feel cluttered, because I also see people with really, really well organized homes and they'll really clutter up the windowsill, and that can have a huge impact on the total perception of the home. So that's a tweak that I might actually try to avoid. But there are tons of really great ways to hang plants in your window, to have shelving in your windows, things like that that people have created so that you can kind of have the best of both worlds. And something else that looks tacky that you can fix right now while you're watching this video, don't click away, keep watching, okay? Please, please. Something that looks tacky is you will buy faux florals and you won't put the stems at different heights. Okay, they're not real. I know that, okay? I'm not stupid. I know that the faux florals aren't real, but we're at least trying to sell the look, right? All the people with green thumbs, they're judging us. So we will at least wanna try and achieve the look. But if you're putting all your stems in at the same height, that doesn't look realistic. Just bend the stems, bend the base of the stem. You don't need to cut it because cutting is too much commitment, okay? Please don't cut your stems. Bend them, right? Put them at different levels, bend the leaves, move them about, maybe pull off some leaves. They're really easy to remove and put on lots of leaves from these faux stems. Just make it look like it's growing. It's really, really simple. Put it into moss, put it in some fake dirt, or put it in a vase that you can't see that it's not real. And at least try to sell the look. Maybe orient the vase towards the light so the plants are growing towards the light. There are little things you can do to try and sell the faux look. I just think when everything's at the same height, right? We left the tags on, we haven't bent any of the leads, it just like is looking straight up like this. It looks awful. I'd rather you just kind of omit it altogether. Just take a little bit of time at bending those leaves and trying to sell that realistic look. Again, I'm not saying that you're gonna convince anybody they're real, but at least let's try. Let's put in just like a teensy bit of effort. I think it's really going to help your space feel better. A really good example of the fig stems I have above my refrigerator. They look so realistic. I think having them bend at different levels really sells the look, and I've had them for like a year now. So I've already recouped my money because I'm thinking about all of the cheap stems I would have bought that wouldn't have looked realistic, but these ones do because I bent them appropriately. And the last interior design mistake I really do not care for, and I think can make your space look tacky, and this is also really easy fix to just messing around with your layout. So the layout of your home really impacts the way an entire space feels. The best piece of advice I can give you is to orient, if you have an open concept, your spaces perpendicular to one another. So if your sofa is maybe sitting like this, maybe orient your dining table like this so that they feel like separate rooms. You know, they're continuous because we're repeating the things we need to repeat, but they feel separate. You want to make sure that you can have at least 2 walkways into your living space. That's all you need to do. If you have at least 2 walkways, it's going to feel like a space that is a little bit more maneuverable and not as tight. You can even do this in small spaces. Your furniture positioning is so valuable. A way that I get away with this is either I'll use an online software like Home Styler, which is free, and I'll put all my measurements in and move it around. But if you're not technologically savvy, get those little felt furniture pads, make sure all of your furniture is on them, and just move things around to find a layout that works for you. As long as you can get 2 walkways in there, you are good to go. That is going to be your rule of thumb. Try to open up the space, make it so that you can easily walk into the space. You're not having to climb around furniture or shimmy by furniture to get into a room. It's just like a small tweak like that open up the room. You can always remember that you can choose multifunctional furniture. So I have dining chairs that work really well as accent chairs. So even though I'd love to have like 10 different seating options in my living room, it just isn't practical for the space. But I have other seating options in my home that are stylistically like comparable to the ones that I would have in my living room, so I can mix and match when need be. But that's it for today's video. Those were some interior design mistakes you might be making that look a little bit tacky, but they're ones that you can fix super duper easily because you watched this video. But as I said earlier, you don't have to fix any of these things if you don't want to, because it's your own home and it should look a way that sparks joy for you, whatever that means. But I hope that you did find this video valuable, and if you have any other tips and tricks you want to share with our wonderful community, leave them down in the comments. And if you liked today's video, please consider smashing that subscribe button, because as I said, we have new videos every Monday and Friday, and I'd love to have you as a member of our community. But until next time, have a beautiful day.